we're discussing the concept of respecting other people's realities. And I, um, there's a word called weirdos. It's not such a nice word. I wouldn't use it, except I can't think of a better way to title this year. And I'll give you an example of a weirdo. Imagine you see a guy walking in the street and he has his laptop open and he's saying Tehillim loudly. Not loudly, but not quietly. Um, so you might think, this guy is really weird. What is he doing? Walking in the street, saying Tehillim like with his laptop at 6:35 p.m. at night. And okay, so it happens to be me. That's what I do sometimes because one of my Talmidim is sick and we've been saying Tehillim every day for the past 2 years. So that's what I do, and sometimes I'm stuck. I have to get somewhere. Like a few days ago, I went to Levi or Five Coin. So like, what am I supposed to do? I have to say Tehillim, and I can't see at night, so I have my laptop. In other words, but I'm just not don't care what anybody thinks. And okay, that's not the end of the world. But there are people who have even more eccentric behavior than that, and I don't have to give too many examples because we all know what it is. But that all comes from their perception of reality and what's good and what's bad and what's normal and what's not normal and what's accepted and what's not accepted. Um, another way we might describe this is naive. And the Torah tells us Yaakov Bina was an ish tam. Tam is a little bit naive. And the Gra tells us in Tes Yud Beis in Mishlei that by studying Torah makes a person less naive. He goes from being a tam to being an aram, from being naive to be cunning, whatever it might be. Everyone has different ways that they act, and on the scale of what's socially accepted norms, so everybody differs. And it's very, very important to respect other people's realities. And what we might call weird or strange or crazy, even, for other people, that might be completely normal. Now, as long as this is not dangerous, violent, abusive. So really, it's not hurting anybody. There's nothing wrong with it. Um, people might think you're a little bit weird, but who cares? As long as you're serving Hashem and you're able to interact with people. Uh, they said about the Panovich the day before Rommel was about to attack Israel. Rommel, the desert fox, in the Second World War. The day he was about to attack Israel, so the Panovich took a brick stone, and he laid down the foundation stone of Panovich Yeshiva. And everyone said, "You're out of your minds." He said, "You know what? You're right. But only people who are crazy get things done." And it's true. I remember when I went to start my coal, it was just about the time when the Israeli government had cut all funding for coal. And people said, like, "You're crazy. Like, this is the worst possible time ever to start a coal. Coal are closing down." I said, "That's why I want to do it." Like, coal are closing down. You have to open up. Who cares about the Israeli government, funding? So everybody's perception of life differs, and there's an accepted norm, right? And our general tendency is people who differ from the accepted norm. Those people are weird and crazy, and are off the beaten path. We have to try to change that. Not because it might not be true, but because we're supposed to love every single Jew and respect them, and realize that they're all children of kings, and treat them with royalty, right? And respect it for them. That's something important. And this is the way that they perceive life, and this is the way Hashem created them. And this is the way that Hashem created them, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Again, if they're acting violently, if they're acting abusive, then again, that might be the way Hashem created them, but they're obligated to try and change themselves. They try to control their behavior. Torah gives us Taryag mitzvahs, 613 mitzvahs, which include not hurting people physically, mentally, and emotionally. But if they're not hurting any people, they're not violent, and they're not doing anything dangerous, and not emotionally, physically, or mentally abusive. Okay, so that's the way they are. The best thing we could do is just accept them, who they are, and move on, with life. And be nice to them. You don't necessarily have to have a relationship with them, but to be nice to them, respect them. And as one Hashiv Rav told me once, he said, Rav Chaim Shmulevitz taught him every person, try to find one, at least one mila that they have. Every person you're close to, try to find one big mila that this person has. And then when you meet up with them, say, wow, I'm so happy. I like this person. Every time I met him, was like, oh, tell them Aleichem. They're so happy to see me. I said, how do you do that? He said, that's the trick. The trick is to find one mila. For example, the person who's weird. Okay, maybe he's very smart. Maybe he's very kind. Maybe he's very passionate. Maybe he's very spiritual. Find something special about that person, and then you'll appreciate the relationship for that particular attribute. Those are Chaim Shmulevitz said, and it's very, very powerful and insightful advice there. So, again, we speak about respecting people's realities, and sometimes it's harder than the others. For the people who are weird, it should be a little bit easier. For the person who has a very advanced psychological or psychotic diagnosis, that's hard. Because they're doing things maybe which are very like almost dangerous or I know abusive. That's really hard. The person who's just weird, and I include myself in the category. Look, I walk in the street, and I was once with my wife at a hotel for Shabbos, and it was very cheap price, a good hector, and it was during the Intifada. So for some reason, they didn't get any Jews that Shabbos, well, not too many, and it turns out like 200 um, German tourists, non-Jewish, came, German or Dutch, I don't know exactly. And like Friday night, we're in the dining room, like 200 non-Jewish Germans going, and like we're just sitting there, and my wife's like, I can't believe this is happening. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna say Kiddush like it's a normal Friday night. I got up at like with a powerful voice. I said, Vayera Vayboker, and like they were all quiet, right? And they listened. Everyone listened to what I said. When I finished, they continued, and my wife was like ready to like bury her head in the sand. I said, no, this is my proudest moment. I can sanctify Hashem's name in public. So some people might call that crazy, and I'm not necessarily going to argue with them. But, again, it's the crazy people, as the Panavachira, who get things done, and they're able to transcend the social norms, which are sometimes good and sometimes not good. Why shouldn't you make Kiddush like a normal night just because there's 200 um, Dutch or German tourists like around you? What difference does it make? So let's try our best. These people who are a little bit different than ourselves, or like yourselves, if you don't want to count me, but let's try and respect them and try to find one really positive attribute that they have, and think about that occasionally, especially if it's your spouse, right? Or your parents, or your siblings, or your next door neighbor. Right? Now, let's say you think your next door neighbor is like off the wall, right? They do like really weird things, but I'm sure like maybe they send you nice manos. Maybe they're very friendly. Maybe they, you know, they don't, they don't play loud music at 2 o'clock in the morning. Whatever it might be, whatever positive attribute it might be, let's look for it and try to find it, and focus on it, and then our relationships will be so much better. We'll be so much happier, right? Why bother getting upset because people are just weird? Like, why? Why should that disturb us at all? If anything, we should be happy that Hashem created a diverse world. As we say, Brain of Fashos Rabos, Esron, and Hashem created a diverse world, and He created needs and He fulfills them. The bracha Vatova Meitiv that said on wine on Shabbos, for those of us who make this bracha, like myself and Ravad Yosef, we try to make this bracha every Shabbos for bringing in a second wine, which is a better wine, where there's 7 conditions. Just look at my book, Wine of Wisdom. So the Kolbel says it's out of diversity. We should recognize the difference between one wine and the other. Helps us recognize diversity in the world. Hashem created a diverse world, just like the Gemara says. Just like people's faces are different, just like people's understanding is different. Their faces are different. Their understanding is different, and each person has their own mentality and their own way of looking at things. So let's try our best to accept that and appreciate it, and we'll just be so much happier. We'll just have such a wonderful world. And if everybody was exactly the same, life would be so boring. Right? So you have these people who are a little eccentric, or maybe very eccentric, and it just makes life so much more interesting. Right? Again, I'm not saying that you have to have a close relationship with them if you don't want to, right? But just appreciate who they are. Appreciate every single person, who they are, what they stand for, what they're doing, and strengthen them because of that. Give them chizuk. You can help them, and you can help everybody. Right? Somebody who has a kind word to say to every single person, when you get to Shemayim, you're going to see there'll be thousands and thousands of people there, and they'll tell you, who are these people? They'll say, these are the people's lives you saved. Why? Because that person was depressed, and this person is this, and this person is this person has difficult shalom bias. And all these people, by saying these kind words, you strengthened them, and you gave them the ability to go on with life and be happy and be strong. And that's an incredible thing. So thank you very much to everyone who does that. And if you want someone who does that, keep it up. If it's not someone who does it, consider it. Like, you're going to get so much reward in Shemayim. Maybe you're medactic on your tefillin that they should be squared to like the billionth of a centimeter. Right? It's much more important to keep everybody a smile and be friendly. Like, be makabel everybody with save upon in the office. It's like such an incredible mitzvah. And not everybody is makfir on it. Not everybody is keeps. If you're looking for a chumrah to take on today, it's like the best chumrah. Kabul, everybody was saved upon him. You have to smile at people. And I think I said that before. When you smile at somebody, they think you're smiling because of them. That's a normal psychological reaction. So therefore, you should try to smile at people and be happy. Like my friend here, Rabbi, and I'm just going to give him stuck at this wonderful Shiva. And we'll conclude with that. Everyone should have a good day and be matzliach. Amen.